Well, thank you for joining me for using discipline in student information. Some call that DASL. We'll even see a little taste of where you would have teachers do referrals in gradebook if we have time. And this is what we're going to cover. We'll take a quick peek at the discipline code types that's set up by an administrator, and discipline incidents. We'll make them, for now, you can just look and open one that is already created, and we'll talk about statuses, if that's a real word. Access to other features, such as right there from the incident window, you can look at the student's schedule, their contacts, their attendance, even print a letter. And I'll go into that discipline letter template. You can see what you already have there. You can have different ones for different situations and how to make those with bookmarks in Microsoft Word. Reports, bar graphs that are quick access straight off of the discipline incident page, as well as canned reports that you can get more of for everybody, more detailed, as well as the Analytics Hub reports, which are nice because they can be spit out in a nice spreadsheet format. Notifications can be turned on. They can be forced, they can be elective, and I'll show you where that's set up, as well as where someone would elect to subscribe. And lastly, like I said, to squeeze in teacher referrals. If you add security to teacher accounts, they can see it in Gradebook, where they can simply post a referral. And referrals can also be done in student information, but I don't believe we have a lot of teachers who do that straight out of SIS. Well, here I am in student information. I am going to be using our TCCSA test district. I'll stay in our high school primarily because that's where the most of our traffic has been for discipline. And if I'm trying to just get started with any of this, I want to head out to that learning center because that's really important to find their guide. And I placed a bookmark for myself just to cheat. And the discipline guide. Interesting that I am signed in and it still wants me, but maybe my bookmark isn't going to work this way. So I will go to the Learning Center and refresh. I have migrated to a platform account, so there's a temporary bug at the Learning Center. And then let's give this a second shot with my bookmark. I'm still going to try and cheat. There we are. So you can just search in the Learning Center discipline, but the breadcrumb trail you see here is student information, discipline guide. So even if I did start from the main page, you'll find all the guides you need in student information. They have a whole section on discipline. And these bullets are breaking out different areas we're going to cover. The guide, there actually is a full 60-some page document. It's a PDF, this discipline guide. I am going to be making references to that. So I know this link only works whenever you are logged in, as I even demonstrated, but I want to put this into our chat, and that way, if anybody wants to pop that open, they can. I'm also putting that link in our recording webpage for folks to access later. And the guide will walk you through a lot of this. So the first thing I want to go through with you are those discipline codes. So this is what is going to drive what you select in your incidents. And if I go ahead then to management, there is school administration and discipline administration. That's all that's there is the code types. There are only 3 that are required. An action code, so I will click the drop down for you to see that. Action codes. These are disciplinary actions taken by your school or district in response to any reported discipline incident. Examples could be a detention, ISS, OSS, expulsion, And you'll see some have EMIS codes. So reporting here in SIS is important to your state reporting. And a second one that is a required discipline code would be your infraction type codes. And so that's an infraction that the student committed. And so it's going to have a result for a punishment and action, which we just looked at. And things such as bullying, assault, fighting, bomb threats, vandalism. Again, some have EMIS codes, some do not. And these are sortable. I just sorted by the EMIS code column. So now those are numbered. You can add these in here very easily. You see, you can click the pencil to edit. I am currently at the high school level. Basically our handout from the Learning Center is going to show you how to add. They're very simple. You're simply going to be adding a code number. You're going to have a name. And I had a district recently just code. They made them 1 through 18. That way they're sorted very neatly. They named them. The description can be the same. And then those that do require an EMIS code, then those would be added. The third required discipline code would be your discipline incident category. And this is going to show up here at the high school as a padlock because it is set up at the district level. And these are 3 that are chosen and set for civil rights reporting. And now that I'm at the district level here, I see I have a pencil and I can see all 3 of those. So I'll talk about how those are important when creating and editing an incident. And but for the most part, those are set, but they are required. There are optional ones, and I'll move back to my high school because I will do the majority of my work there. The optional ones is a long list that's on page 2 of the handout. And policy code is one, though, that you might set. These are, really discipline policy that's specific to your school district. And the student violated it, and it's in relation to the discipline incident, such as unauthorized touching, fighting, attendance, behavior, and bullying would count. And these are the ones that are listed here for our test district. So these are the discipline code types. Anyone have questions about those? I'm not going through setting one up. You can click the pencil on any of them. If you are logged in, you can quickly see how to set one up.
No, I think that makes sense.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I got Corey Klein here with me. He came down to my office. He apparently he was having trouble with his Zoom, so.
Welcome, Corey. That's fine. That's fine. You guys can buddy up. Well, that moves. I'm going to move then on to our next step in our agenda. We're going to head out to discipline incidents. So the breadcrumb trail there, I'm holding on to that a little bit in case you want to follow along. Student information, discipline incidents. And again, here in my test high school, I have a list. It's only going to show you 10 at a time. So if you need to display more, the bottom right corner is where you can do that. You can hit 25, 50, and if you have more than one page, you just simply arrow over to the second page. So you have control on how many to display, and I only have 12 in my sample. So next, I'm going to get into the discipline incidents. There is a referral, and looks like I might have one in here because it has the word new listed for its status. That's how referrals would display if they were coming in, say, from gradebook or the teacher menu here in SIS. And a referral is just the process used to start a discipline incident. Typically, teachers are the ones who would create referrals. However, people in student information, if you have access, certainly can make referrals as well. Maybe you don't have the level of access that gets you to this screen, but you do have the teacher menu and you can do discipline referral. And I'll hit that toward the end of our session. From the referral information that comes in here, you can create a discipline incident, or you could just land right here and start the incident. The incident documents the event that transpired. It requires a disciplinary action and includes a combination of the time, the location, the infraction, the offenders, maybe victims or witnesses, and the disciplinary action taken. So you may need to capture this data for your own maybe trending analysis happening in the district, or maybe I showed you some of those discipline type codes. They had EMIS codes. Well, we need to comply with EMIS and the civil rights reporting. So I'm going to hop right in. We're going to just open one. That way we can kind of navigate, see something that's going on, and I will click on actions. Here we see we have view and edit. I'll come back to the rest of these in a minute, but view, edit, and I had someone put this in for me today where a student was throwing food in the cafeteria. So title, I've seen some districts put a name in here, but that's really not necessary because in the display on the list, the student's name was there anyhow. I've seen possibly a policy listed here or just like a shorter description. It's really going to be up to you as a district to decide. They put in the time, they put in, date and then time. Is this during school, after, or before? And a short description. This box over here, this is important to your EMIS person. They have to manually enter in the civil rights information for this, but rather than them coming down, reading all about this, looking down in which policy or which infraction was chosen, they can tell very quickly to do their reporting if you have one of these checked. Now, this is not an example for bullying, religious intolerance, or sexual orientation, but that is what the importance is of this box, that that person has a quick at a glance that they can open it, see the box checked, and move on for their own reporting. Down below, we have where, and we already had the when, now we have the where, and this was on school property. If you want to be specific, this is going to pull from your student information rooms. So any location that you have added, possibly for scheduling, you can also have things like hallway, cafeteria. That's what we would pick for this one. Restrooms, and that whole list here. I have a restroom, study hall. Again, that's driven by your locations, and locations, if you were to add any now, they would change in your current school year. That's something that is kind of live. So be cautious. Don't be willy-nilly just adding some play locations in, because everybody's going to see those. So my cafeteria, I'll add that for this. And what could happen as an administrator, you might come in and this got started, but you see some pieces missing, you certainly can add to it. This is my current test high school and the IRN. Just because this happened, this might be a high school student, doesn't mean you're stuck. You can put in your other buildings because possibly they were doing graffiti over at the elementary building. So you change the building based on the building IRN. Who is the staff member that's reporting this? So you can search by name, give it a moment, it will pull up all staff names. If it was someone else, you can type in other, or you can leave it blank. And that one's really thinking hard about that.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
where do you change for the location? Where do you update those in EMIS so that it pulls over? Like we don't have hall restroom listed in ours.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'll show you right now. I'm using the go-to menu because I like to cheat, and that will find me the path. So it really is under management, school administration, school building administration. As you see, I have followed this
Okay.
path. And then rooms, locations. But honestly, I just typed in the go-to box,
Yeah.
locations, and it jumped me right there. And
Okay.
that's your list. Just add what you need if you need restrooms, hallways, you know, even if it's on school grounds, but it's outside of the building, parking lot, things that wouldn't normally be in here because you aren't scheduling to those locations.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I'll go now back to discipline incidents, and with the one I had pulled up, she was throwing food in the cafeteria. Now, an offender already appears here, but if you were starting from scratch, you would click Add Offenders. This would all be empty below this area, but under Offenders, you would pick who it is. Is it a student? Was it a staff? Or was it other? So maybe there was a parent involved or a student from another school that wouldn't be found here. And you can add multiple offenders. So Betty wasn't on her own, her sister Barbara. Because I got, let's see, we'll look up her last name. Boop. Her name is Boop, not Poop. And there's Barbara's name. What isn't intuitive to me for the years I've used this is that I would think you're done, but you really need to now click the green button, Add Offender, and then they appear at the bottom. So that's something I wanted to point out because it might not be real obvious. And it's not natural, but you search, you still have to click this Add Offender, and then their name appears. So looking down here with Betty, I have choices. These are the policies I talked about that are district specific. These are optional. So when you run reports, these really aren't the most important thing you're going to find. In order for incidents to appear on reports, you really need to have an infraction. So that's really the driver that's going to make these show up. So the person who just reported this or referred it didn't really know, or maybe a referral doesn't have a lot of access to be specific. So disobedient, disruptive actually is a great choice. They already have in here. But if there are other choices, then weapons were involved, the number. These comments are for each area. These are infraction comments. And when we move down here, we're going to have action comments. I'm going to move next then to the disciplinary actions. So again, for these to appear on reports, you're going to need infractions. You definitely have to have actions. Infractions are not going to make or break a report, but this one will. So if there are no actions, this incident won't show on a report. And the student was given a detention. All right, so that's as far as that person went, but maybe someone else who's dealing with the actual detention session had to come in later and put in the date. So maybe it's going to be a Friday detention. And if your school, see it automatically calculated the number, but if your school uses demerits, you can add those as well if you have that system in place. Now, this is in the future, but the boxes are here to come back later if you have given services, maybe some intervention was done during that detention, counseling. We have served, so you would come back and possibly check that. That way, if this student isn't showing up for detention, you need to know, and that's something that you would come in after the actions have been completed. Other options, adult ed assigned, whether it's a yes or no. If it's a modified expulsion, another yes or no. And then we have here this discipline reason. So there's Ohio Revised Code. This is an exemption related to, I pulled this up for suspension, where we have a limit. You can't be suspended for more than 10 school days. And I'll throw this into our chat in case anybody is highly excited about revised codes, then you can check that one out. And so that is what the box is about. If that applied, we would pick A. If there's an immediate health and safety exemption, or neither exemption applies. So if neither, that's almost like not applicable, depending on the incident. And moving down, you can have parent involvement. And so we're sitting here and immediately their primary contact is going to be pulled up. And if we're making a phone call, we could say today, and how did we get involved with the parent? Was there counseling? Was there law enforcement? Oh, I'm just making a call. Called and left voice message. Others that might be included would be a list such as an offender type of the adult visitor. Because remember up there at the top, I had student, staff, and other. So that's where I could say, oh yeah, other, and it's that adults, they were at a game and they were disruptive. If it was a parent, student from another school is listed. And then there's this box about letters. And we'll be talking about how you can print those letters right out of here. So it's kind of like a full service station with discipline here in student information. Also, if there are some type of injuries, fatal, minor, major, and serious body. Maybe this was an incident and it involved your school resource officer, you would list their name, or if somebody came in from outside. And then, depending on the gravity of the incident, was there an arrest? Were there weapons not arrested? And then adjudication type is listed as well. So I understand not all of these would be filled out at one time. An incident is something that you can come back to, revisit, keep amending, changing. I'm not going to really deal with this added person, but I do want to show you it's easy to remove them if you've added them by mistake. And there is a button to save, so I would need to click Update Incident. Other things you can use here is victims. So again, if I'm looking for a student and I use their last name and bashful, I have to click add after the search. Got good in his eye. And this is a victim. So, you pick the victim type because this could include your staff. I would say, I don't know how violent a food fight is, but I'm just going to pick student. In this situation, it was an accidental food in his eyes, nothing fatal, very minor injury. And then, perhaps, he got a scratch or something on his eye, or he had to get his eye washed. So yeah, maybe medical treatment was required. And I can update that for a victim. You also can have witnesses. That can possibly be a staff, and that staff member could be Shelley. She is our witness. And this was the lunch room monitor. Office notes, that is internal. Only folks who have access to this right here are the ones who can see these notes. These would be considered, I don't want to say private entirely, but private to those who have security access. It's not going to show out in parent access. It won't show out on gradebook. It is only going to show here in this window. So all updated. Any questions on creating a discipline incident?
Yeah, Court and I were just talking to the victims and witnesses. Does that show anywhere else other than this page? Like, is somebody else going to have access to that? We don't really use that feature, but we were just talking that it might be a good idea to start using it.
Yeah, actually there is a report, and I'll bring that up from the Analytics Hub. There's a whole discipline section, and there's a victims report. Because let's say you have a student who's maybe crying wolf, and they just seem to always be the one who's the victim, possibly, and you want to see if there's some type of trend or pattern. Is maybe that victim really pushing the kids into bullying or causing other, maybe they're the instigator, but they always seem to come off as the victim. So yeah, there's a report in Analytics Hub that would reveal something like that.
Okay.
So in that handout, I am going to skip to page 35. So we've covered the incident, and I tried to go in order as much as I could. And that is covering all the steps on how to create the incident. So honestly, I actually just finished that up. And I'm returning now back then to page 23. And I am going to show you here at the top. Page 23 talks about the status. So these are going to stay and remain open for the end of time until somebody comes and change the status of this incident. So it is either open, complete, or canceled. So possibly it is going to be open for some time until maybe the parole officer or the court case has been heard, or that the student has simply served their detention after school on Friday. So when it is time, then you would click complete, but you do need to go to the bottom and update that incident. That could be easily forgotten. Viewing. While I'm here inside the incident, if you're trying to get that parent involvement, you don't need to leave the screen at all. You can stay right here and grab that student's contacts. And you can also see their schedule. And my contacts did not pop up. What happened? I'll try that again. There we are. That the contact will pop up. You have the phone number. That way you can quickly take care of that and do your documentation all on the same screen. Is this a truancy report? Then possibly you want to see their attendance and you want to document, okay, this is habitual and we want to, my person doesn't have attendance problems. Then you would act appropriately, maybe with the actions depending on their attendance. Maybe it's just their schedule and you want to do a counseling with them. Guidance is going to grab them, but they don't know where they are. Quickly check their schedule. You'll find them. And also show history. What this means is when a letter has been generated and sent home, then it will show here in the history. Now I picked a new one, so that's why show history has not appeared, because I've never printed this letter. I was just working on it this morning. Also, if this student has had past incidents, is it becoming chronic? You have that quick at a glance and you can go look at the other issues. Is it constantly pushing and shoving in the hallways? Well, then now we might be looking at a bullying issue. Or what type of incidents have they had? Are they very random? That is a whole list for the offender, the victim as well. You can just glance at their schedule or their contacts, as well as your witness. I didn't put a witness. Oh, I put a staff member in, so I would not see those links because the staff doesn't have contacts or schedule the same as a student. Whenever I popped out, I just used the breadcrumb trail to come out of that incident and stay within the discipline area. I can click actions and I see schedule, contacts, and past incidents. So the bulk of what I need is right here at a glance. If I'm making the call, I already looked at this, I know what's going on. I don't have to always drill into that incident. So that's convenient too. So that takes us through page 23 to about 31. And I want to revisit, I'm going to go into, let's see if I used one of these students in the past. I'm going to enter in because now I'm thinking, all right, I have to do this letter. And I can't remember, it's been a hectic week. I'll show history and I'll say, oh, did I? Yep, I did. Somebody already, whether it was myself or someone in the office, already sent a discipline letter. So that's nice to have that history. You think about the letters and you're like, well, okay, this is going to physically make a PDF style, but you could always copy that in email. You could attach it to an email, and there are templates to choose from. We have a lot of test info in here. I just know the one I want here is this number 5, and I'm going to click Run Report. So the letter is going to be pulling in what you have possibly made up and uploaded, and I'll show you where that stuff gets uploaded. And I'll have to hit my downloads folder to grab this incident letter that just downloaded for Terry. I'll pull it in from my second window in a moment. Microsoft Word opens up. And I can still edit if needed, but it has pulled in everything from my template. It is saying this is a disciplinary action letter, date. These things are going to get pulled in. Think of it like a mail merge between Microsoft, well, student information and the discipline incident. It's really convenient. You don't have to hand do any of this work. It's pulling this student's name, and this is pulling in our parent name. And we see here that this has something broken because it didn't really pull in Terry's name here. It has student first name. So I'd have to look at why this bookmark did not work. There is an entire separate handout on this, and because of time, I won't go into it in detail, but I am going to pull it up here in a moment after I finish going through this. This was the action. What is going to happen here? So you write a sentence and then it pulls in from the incident. Then you have the violation, and this is pulling in either from your policy or your infraction code. And then we have more text that was part of the template. It can pull in the phone number of your school. Sincerely, you could have principal's name, whoever, at the end, and that would get pulled in. So this is an example of a letter that would be here. And now if I hit show history, it does show this was ran twice and who did it. The part about this making the report template is actually what they call it. And it's just discipline letter template to me, is when I go ahead to create discipline letters. This is in the Learning Center. It's a separate PDF. I'm going to put it in our chat for all of you. That way you can have it later. And it is using Microsoft Word. Let me zoom in just a touch for you. Not much has changed over time. As you see, the last time that this document's been updated is 2020. So pretty solid. It's been the same and functioning well over the last 5 years. I do want to point this out, though. My own Microsoft Word did not have this bookmark option turned on by default. So I had downloaded, opened a template, and I'm like, this has no bookmarks. Well, going through this step-by-step handout, I learned very quickly why it appeared that my template had no bookmarks. It's just because my Microsoft Word didn't know. So let's go into a little bit on how you would download and upload. Because honestly, starting from scratch can be a pain. Also, bookmarks can get corrupted, so you don't want to fuss with them too much. But let's head back and go ahead then to take care of our template. We're going to find that under Management, District Admin, and Report Template Admin. Because discipline reports, aka letters, are not the only templates in here. So other reports could, and I have to be at the district level for this, others could be for attendance as well. So this is where possibly a person entering incidents is not going to be able to access this level someone with higher security would need to come in, take care of the template, and you can download, or I can even send, I believe I've done that several times to school, send one that is functioning at another district so that they don't have to start from scratch. And I can see here, I have ones imported from other districts too. So the report types. Here I have just one for discipline letter, but I have 16 pages. Again, it's one of those screens where I need to see more than all of my discipline. I can sort by the report type column, get all my discipline report templates together. And again, if you have a unique one because your suspension rules are written very different, then do that. Make a different template for those. And I'm going to go, this was my TCCSA 5. Remember, I ran it and it didn't have student names, so something wasn't right. I'm going to go ahead and download that and open that real quick. So this is what you would do for yourself if you need to edit. It's going to open my Microsoft Word. I am in Word with that finished one. Let's see if it opens up our template as I would expect. I can close this one. Oh, that's my fault. I am clicking an old file. There we are. Had to refresh my downloads folder. And now, this is what the bookmarks look like. It's going to be the text with brackets. And if you're wondering, where is she getting all of that ran together, contact rule address formatted? That is going to be found whenever you click on new template. One place is in incident letter right here in the upload screen. So you don't want to have to keep toggling back and forth. So what I did, I copied all of those. It's quite a long list, surprising. And I made a Google Doc of those. So that's what's available today. And I have that here to share with you guys. And I can put that in our chat. That's also going to be on our video page for anyone who needs that full list. So you can copy and paste from this list, and it is quite extensive. You can really tailor that letter to do a lot of work for you. So it's a one-time, set it, forget it, and then generate your letters. So here I am in Microsoft Word with my rules, and it's under the insert menu where you find those. I'm sorry, I said rules, but I meant bookmarks. So I can click the bookmarks icon, and there they are. These are the ones that exist in this current document. And if you were starting from scratch, you were copying from that Google Doc, a list, and making yours up because it didn't appear here, then you can click on Add wherever your cursor is blinking. That's where it would pull. So I'm not adding any. I just noticed that right here, that one was broken, right? So I'm going to go back to bookmarks and add, and I want actually to copy. I get the, there we go, copy that and go back to my bookmark to fix it. Now I can click add. There it is. Because it was selected, the brackets appear around it, and that bookmark is now in my list. You can sort these by name. You can sort them by location in the document. So contact full name is first. If it's so long and you're like, I don't know where that student first name appears, then you can select it and click go to. And that would be its first occurrence. It has a second occurrence. And so there are rules that are in the instructions about using a bookmark multiple times. There'll be details that will follow it. And so I'm going to jump to that little section because I've gone through some of this in the handout for you. But if a bookmark is going to be used multiple times, they'll ask you to use underscore x2, underscore x3, etc. at the end of the bookmark. So here I should have added underscore X2 because that student's first name or full name, I can't remember which I had, but it was used a second time in the letter. They're fairly easy. Rule of thumb, if one's not working, you're almost better to just delete it. If it's got the brackets on it, but it's just not generating, delete it, add new, in all honesty, because trying to fiddle with one that's not working proves to be more headaches than it's worth. So any questions on the report template administration or even just running the letters?
Not yet, but we may later.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. And by all means, that's, we're here to support you. Get those templates going. And I have had to do that for a district. No matter how hard they try, they couldn't get their bookmarks working. And they told me what they needed, and they just basically sent me a finished one, and then I made one off an example. So
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we need is that we've got to update all our letters. All these letters were created before any of us have been here, and we've been trying to make it work for what we need now. And especially with changes, if they're going to change and start us make or have us report all the categories.
Yeah.
Or discipline all the categories for attendance and those type of things. So, and if they're going to change the attendance law again, we're going to have to change our letter again.
There you go.
So
let's take a quick peek in the time we have to look at reports. So the menu, the breadcrumb trail is student information, discipline reports. Discipline reports, there are several here to choose from. And this is taking us back to our first handout that was the large 66-page document. And these reports start on page 47 of that document if you need future reference. And just make a note to look later. These are going to display in a PDF style, but they call these canned reports. And they look very similar to running a student search for class list. And you can decide to pull over anything you want. I need to make sure I'm at a building level. Let me get to the right place. There we are. And I also know that it's going to pull the time that you last visited here. So I popped in this morning to make it convenient for myself. And but otherwise I had dates in here that were from 2023. The action code, again, canned reports work in the manner that if you leave it empty over here on the right, it's going to pull everything on the left. So action code, remember, that's one of those required ones. The status, maybe that's not important, or you just want to know ones that are still open. That could be helpful. New would only be referrals, so that's going to be a short list. Student status, you can decide to pull those over if you like, but this is what the canned one has for me already. And then I can decide how to sort it. So this is going to come as a PDF. I have generated the spreadsheet, not real thrilled. I mean, it's just not set up and made for that. So I had my report window hiding from earlier. And then I can see here, it's pending, and refresh, still running. I ran several of these, so I picked discipline action. That's the focus of this report. It's bringing that to the forefront. Like, that's what's important to me. I want to see over my list of students what actions are most used possibly. And let me just pull up. If you would like, you can also use your breadcrumb trail to go to reports, pick discipline all. So that's going to bring everything over. You could run one of those. Discipline infraction. Now the infraction is what's important. And I told you that we could have reports, the incident will not show up if there's no action, but you can have things show up if there's no infraction displayed. So you could actually have incidents show up on that report that have nothing in the infraction field. So I will pull up Let's see, our all discipline. Let's see. Let's do action first. If I ran that, yep, I only ran 2, but I just did this to save us some time here. So I have Adobe Reader open, and this is what those look like. And you can see why Excel's not gonna play nice very much, because there's some graphics in this, but I have an action date range, so possibly I'm looking at a period of the school year. Maybe the incidents have increased and I need to figure out why and what were they. But we're getting all the details, date when it was ran, what type of report it is. We see what's important, such as student ID, gender, name, grade. We have the date of the incident. That was that title. So again, those titles, you don't want to put really a student name there, because all these reports and the discipline list always have their name. But I have seen that at a school district. Action date, then when did they enter in the action date, such as a detention. And then we see here the number of days, and handy dandy telephone right here on this report for us. That is an action report. I'm going to pull up the all discipline report. We'll see, it's going to look a little different. And action report still there. I probably clicked the wrong one. Give that a shot. So looking at the all, looks a little different. It wasn't a landscape layout. And here we see, we have our student Terry, and it's broken down. Now, remember I said infractions might not be in here, and this is one of those examples, but this incident will not show on this report if I don't have actions. So make sure you're doing due diligence to get in the actions, because it'll kind of wreck your reports in the end. And depending on your goal, if you're really trying to get a full picture, then you're gonna be missing out and not getting the correct report results. So this one is a detention, and we see all the details related to that. There are no demerits in this situation, but all the details that we see in the incident condensed on a page. So we have Terry, we have Chris. I'm continuing to move down, Tim and Doc, Grumpy and Emma, and that is all. Now I know I have several from Betty Boop. I think her sister Barbara also has. So I need to see, investigate, why didn't they show on this? And since I ran this report yesterday, I know I didn't have actions, and that was the reason why. You can get a total detail, total summary. So these are the same thing if you're just looking at large numbers or total numbers. But I do want to show you here another way to report discipline incidents. They have this handy little report. This is going to show up in that large handout, discipline handout. It is the way to see bar graphs of all of this. So incidents by day. This is just a quick snapshot, and you'll get quick numbers. I pulled some from different districts because these don't show us names on them. It's just a visual. Maybe you're having a meeting and with your staff, and you want to show them how this would look. So I'll pull a few of those up. And my bar graphs, I have so few students with only 12 incidents, my little bars would be rather short. And so here we have the one by grade level. I can see the number for grade 9. We see grade 11. They must be a great group of kids, not causing incidents, but we need to see what's going on with this 9th grade, because they have a very large number. And maybe we have our seniors with some senioritis this time of year. So that's the view of total incidents by grade level. I'll pick a few others here real quick. I'll do discipline by infraction. Pull that up for you all. And I apologize because I just lost I bumped my cable. So you're probably seeing nope. We lost our screen share, and that was me bumping my cable. One moment. Let's start that back up. My mouse needed some more space. Apologies there. So this is incidents by infraction. All right. So again, like I said, I pulled this from district, no names, but this is data. We're not showing any detailed information, but we are seeing wherever this was that it's disruptive behavior or truancy, that they really have a truancy issue and they have 525. But fortunately, you know, body injury, theft, a lot of these numbers are really low. But, you know, the fact that we have anything related to firearm, that is very concerning. So it gives you that visual, quick look. And so this is something that the district would want to work on. So those are two examples out of this area. And earlier I did not discuss the filters, but you can create filters if you have a lot of incidents, and you can create them from this little gear here. You can edit or delete those. And once you select one, then you can click your filter to only display the 10th graders if this list is long. And maybe, you know, you're a principal or a counselor for only certain grade levels. So that would be a good reason to create a filter. With the remaining 5 minutes I have in here, I think I can squeeze in notifications and referrals. So notifications can appear. There's this little bell up here at the top right, and I currently don't have any. It's really hard for me to demonstrate this one, but you would have a little red badge up here if you had notifications, and it would also send an email to you. Why would you want, or why would you get a notification? So notifications could be for discipline, referrals, or discipline incidents. So I just used the go-to box to search for notifications, and I believe it is off in one of the districts I was looking at for this class. So notification rule configurations, it's in the school administration. And for my high school, I have other notification types, but I am here for the discipline incident and the discipline referral, and they are on, and it is an optional. It's not required, but it's an opt-in feature. So you can decide, because that can get really annoying if it was required, that every person who has a certain level of security access is constantly getting emails or this little badges lighting up when they really aren't going to read those. So how would one, once this is turned on, opt in? You would go to my account, and here you would have notifications. You can get the notification list, the subscription list, and these are the ones I can choose to subscribe to. And I can unsubscribe, I can pause, maybe it's, you know, for school year. I am, you know, working in a different area of the building and I don't want to lose this setup, but I know I'm coming back to my administrative position in a year, then I can come back and turn it back on. The email is optional, and then I can configure, again, if I was a counselor for only certain grades, then I would select those. Or if I'm a combined junior high, high school situation, I would just pick my grades and not the others. So I cleared those all out. Now none are selected. And I would get these notifications for these two reasons, an incident or a referral. I'll end now with referrals. And teacher menu, I have And I'm really not sure how many teachers even are aware they have, or if they have access to student information, but they would come in and these would be some of the choices that they could access for students that are on their schedule, or depending on security settings, who they would have access to. And discipline referral is right there. So that this would not take any additional setup, but if I wanted to put in here, incident, this happened this morning, and this is during school hours. I wanted to show you this really at the end because this may not be used at your district, but also to show how limited a referral is. You aren't going to have that ability to enter in the policies, the infractions, the actions, because this person's just, instead of sending a slip to the office or sending an email, they're using student information to do that. And it has expedited. A person now at the office doesn't have to copy what was in the email or copy what was on that slip of paper. It is in here. It's on the fast track and simplifying it for everybody. So I will write in our student, I better pick a student we really have here. I was going to make up a name. So it's student. Look up. Okay. So Grumpy Dwarf. And where did this occur? They have some choices, and maybe it was on school property, but really just maybe not quite yet on the bus. And it was to school. It was the bus driver who found it. And if anybody else was involved, you could add them, but that's it. That's all they would refer here in student information. This is going to also happen in gradebook, and I say I'm out of time. You can either drop off the call, but I'm going to take the next minute to show you here how this is done in gradebook. In order for teachers to see this in gradebook, they would need to have access added to their security level, which is easy to do. A request can be put into TCCSA to have that added. So I'll just quickly grab a teacher and say, teachers cannot see any other referrals here in gradebook. They can only see ones that they have made. So I'm going to go to this teacher's gradebook. This is where they would see submit discipline in gradebook. And this person was my sample. And these are all students who they have. So a new discipline incident is added. And it looks very simple to similar to the one we just saw in our student information. Difference is they can have multiple buildings. So if they're doing bus duty out on the sidewalk, then if it's somebody who's still on the bus and they threw something out the window, but they were moving over to the elementary after the high school got dropped off, they can have both building choices, the name, the date, again, same choices. They have the additional of a location room in case it was. Those same locations would be in your locations for student information, and then search students and add. And if any teachers want to see the finished results of students' discipline, there is one place they can go to, and this has nothing to do with referrals. It's just, where do teachers go? Can they go to see discipline? And the answer is yes. They would be able to see it. And this is going to take me to my play database for some reason, my mistake. In data map, on a student's roadmap, they can see student discipline. It's only for 2 years, so there are legal reasons why we don't show. We wouldn't want a teacher to unfairly target a student or get an opinion of them because of their past discipline. So data map is where teachers can see disciplinary action, and that appears under their student roadmap. So thanks for hanging in there with me. I actually did go over that minute. It's 3 minutes extra. But I hope you learned something new about discipline. It is a forgotten feature. It is a really great tool. And I feel it's a one place that everybody in your staff can go to work and take care of your students.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you are welcome. Thanks for hanging in the extra minute. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And
Rebecca,